All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the pre-college program webinar. Before we get started, I want to do a sound check. Let's see. So on the right side of your screen, you should see something that looks like that. There's a question box where you can type in your questions. If you can see that and you can hear me, type something in there like a smiley face or a hello, how are you, or something so that I know that somebody's out there. I'm well, thank you. How are you? All right. Lots of people out there. Excellent. All right. Well, let's get started then. So my name is James Chansky. I'm Assistant Dean, Summer Session and Pre-College Programs. As you might imagine, I'm the one on your right with the beard. And I'm here with Joy Whitehead, Assistant Director, Pre-College Programs and Diversity Initiatives. Want to say hello, Joy?
Hello, everyone.
And everyone heard Joy? Say hello to Joy. There you go. Okay, thanks. All right. So everyone can hear us. That's terrific. All right. So we are here on a snowy evening at Brown University with Margaret Perkins, who's providing technical support. If you hear me say, help Margaret, that's why. And Connor Grieve is an undergrad who is, I believe, in his dorm room and who will be fielding some of your questions as we go through. So our agenda this evening is pretty straightforward. Joy and I are going to be talking about who comes to study at Brown, what they study, which will involve a tour of our course catalog, what it's like to be here, and throughout all this try to give you a sense of why a high school student would choose to spend some time over the summer engaging in college-level study at an Ivy League institution. Connor and the rest of us will try to answer your questions as best we can. We'll be focusing mostly on summer at Brown, but I want to point out some of the other programs so that you have a sense of what else there is. So this is the pre-college program webpage, and on the left over here you'll see a listing of all the different programs. The pre-baccalaureate program is for rising high school seniors who are ready to take on college credit work. Brown Leadership Institute is a really unique program that combines academic study about social issues with practical training to do something about what the students are learning about. The environmental leadership labs are site-based environmental science programs, one on the water's edge here in Rhode Island and another in Alaska. Location-based programs are sort of study abroad programs, this summer in Rome and Segovia, Spain, combining language study with cultural immersion and academic study in areas related to the location. And there's a domestic program that, like the one this summer in Atlanta, Georgia, focuses on disease control and is in Atlanta because that's where the CDC is, the Center for Disease Control. There's also a webinar this evening at 8 on these programs. And if you go to this page and scroll down, you can see a button that says register. And that's where you'll go to sign up for that if you want more information on that program. We also have an intensive English language program that's designed for non-native speakers of English who want to bring their language skills up in preparation for study in an English language school, college or university. STEM 2 and STEM 1, which are science programs focused on hands-on and immersive study. And lastly, and very much like what we're talking about tonight, are pre-college online courses, which are very much like Summer at Brown courses, but are delivered online and in a way that embraces all the best things about small seminar classes, where you get to know the other students and have lots of direct interaction with your instructor. It's really a perfect way to experience what a Summer at Brown course is like if you're not able to make it to campus. All right, well, we're going to move on now to talk about Summer at Brown. And while we get started, I'm going to play this in the background for your visual amusement. I think we can talk over that. Do you think we can be heard? It is kind of noisy, isn't it?
ID card, real key, the door's upstairs.
Well, it's brief. This is what, there we go. Okay. It's mostly just crowd noise, so there's no need to pay attention to that. Joy, why don't you talk to the folks about who comes to study here?
Sure. So who comes to study here during the summer? Our program is very large, and over the course of the summer, several thousand students will come through our campus. We draw from pretty much all 50 states and from about 75 different countries. Students come from a wide range of backgrounds and come here to study a wide range of things, from anthropology and American studies to visual arts. And what they have in common is a seriousness about whatever it is they want to study. Some are the first in their classes to raise their hands, others sit quietly in the back soaking everything up. They are all curious to learn more about what they already know a good amount about, or to learn more about something they know very little about. So our programs really provide the opportunity for students to do a deep dive into a really specific area of interest. They take courses that will strengthen their skills in particular ways, like in college level writing or creative writing, or in learning how to read more carefully or think more deeply and critically, and to experience the independence and responsibilities that come from living on an Ivy League campus in a community of like-minded strangers, and to make friends among this community of like-minded strangers, and ultimately to learn from one another.
A lot of them have a pretty clear idea of what they want to study too. But actually, more than half of all students who start out in college with a clear sense of what they want to study end up changing that within the first or second year. But others are here to explore and experiment and just to figure out what it is they want to study. Thought I'd tell you a couple of anecdotes about students. A lot of them come here to study something that intrigues them, and they leave just as intrigued and wanting to know more about it. And that's pretty much the way education usually happens. You know what you want to study, you study it, you love it, and you want to study more. But it doesn't always happen this way. There was a student who came to study the visual arts because she'd been told throughout junior high school and high school that she was super talented, and she figured that drawing and painting was going to be her life's work and that she would go on to be a visual artist. After 3 weeks of really good work, but really exhausting work, she said that she'd done more work in those 3 weeks than she'd done in 3 years in school. She decided that she needed to find something else to do, and that doing the visual arts was really hard work, and not everyone was telling her that she was super wonderful, and she had to really work hard to get compliments. There was another student who was unsure about what she wanted to study, and she came to take a 1-week course in archaeology, which she was just sort of generally curious about and thought it would be fun. And then she was going to follow up with what her parents said was a practical course in economics. Well, by the end of the first week, she asked to see me about making a change in her enrollment, because that 1 week studying Egyptian death and burial rituals was enough to convince her that archaeology was the thing she really wanted to do. And so she said she wanted to take an introduction to archaeology and drop the economics course. And of course, I asked her if her parents were okay with that, and she said they were, because they were wise parents who knew how to let their child flourish and grow. And so that's a pretty good segue to figuring out what exactly one might study.
So Summer at Brown is built on 2 of the major pillars that support a Brown undergraduate education. First, as some of you may be familiar, the open curriculum, for which Brown is best known. The open curriculum is usually taken to mean that there are no requirements, and that's mostly true. But what it really means is that students are at the center of the curriculum, in the sense that Brown expects students to figure out what they want to study and not just follow a standardized plan set out for all students. To make it possible for students to figure this out for themselves, many courses are designed to focus on a question or take a unique angle or focus on something interesting. Again, a deep dive into a topic area. And they are often taught with an interdisciplinary approach, which means they draw broadly across the curriculum so that in studying in any one discipline, students can get a sense of how other disciplines engage a particular topic. And this is what helps them figure out what they want to study in greater depth and breadth. When we take a closer look at the catalog, this will become much clearer. The second element is that Brown doesn't calculate a GPA or grade point average. Students can take many and even most of their courses pass-fail. The purpose of this is to encourage risk-taking in what one studies, so that fear of not doing well doesn't discourage students from trying something new or something that they think is really hard. Summer at Brown courses are not for credit or official grades. Those students will receive feedback from their instructors, and so they will know how well they are doing throughout the course, because we want students to come, to explore, to arrive wanting to learn more, and to leave knowing how much more there is to learn. We're looking for hungry learners who leave still hungry for more.
All right, so there's the catalog. I'm going to actually pick up the catalog. No. Where's the catalog? There's the catalog. All right. So there are 217 courses that are being offered this summer in Summer at Brown, and you could scroll through it, but that would, take an awfully long time. What some people do is they do a search for something. So they'll do Control F, and they'll have a question like, how big is infinity? And they'll find a course like that they want to take. And they'll see a description there, and so on. Or you might have a question like, I don't know, have you ever wondered what it's like to live in 3000 BC? Here we go. So you could poke around like that, but there's actually a more systematic and thorough way to do it. And what we're going to do is, you scroll down here, you'll see that we've clicked on Summer at Brown because we want to look at just the Summer at Brown courses. And we're going to go up here and we're going to start looking at anthropology and sociology because I'm guessing that most high school students don't know what those disciplines are. This will take us to some interesting places. So there's the Introduction to Archaeology course that I mentioned earlier. But let's say that you're not interested in archaeology, you're really interested in medicine, in being pre-med. So here's a course on global health. This is something that you might want to look at before you take organic chemistry, because it'd be good to explore why the world needs doctors, where they need them, and what, besides the biological causes of illness, produces illness and interferes with health. Scroll down, and here's another course, Understanding Illness, Ethnographic Narrative in Graphic Medicine. You can study medicine and read comic books in this course. Understanding the Nation's Health, Understanding Adolescent Health. So there's a lot of courses, even in anthropology and sociology, that would focus on health. And we scrolled past a couple of other courses that, if you've been paying close attention to the news these days, a course on migration, free and forced. If you're a bit of a geek and are fascinated by technology, here's one that puts all that in a larger context, an introduction to surveillance and policing. Scroll down a little further. Here's a course, Black Lives Matter Less, how structural racism affects the health of Black lives and communities. Here's a course where politics, public history, public policy, health all intersect. And I'm showing you all this not just to show how Brown works as a liberal arts college, but because courses like these help you see the context in which things happen. And everything has a context. It comes from somewhere, has meanings that really only become clear when you shift your perspective and look at them in a new way, and it has impacts that are broader and deeper than a narrower view would suggest. Understanding this is not just at the core of a liberal arts education, it's really fundamental to being able to learn anything at all, and not only while you're in school, but really throughout your whole life. Like critical thinking, lacking the capacity to see context leaves you pretty well impoverished in your understanding of the world. And speaking of critical thinking, who would imagine that you would find courses that help you with that by looking at English and world literature? Here's a great course. Let me scroll down to it. Monsters, Beauties, Heroes, and Villains. Writing about literature by reading below the surface. And this course is really about learning how to read and how to write. And the way into that is by reading stories about heroes, villains, monsters, beauties, and ways of reading and writing that prepare a student for reading just about anything. You'll learn how to read with a degree of clarity. It's not just useful for English majors, but for anyone who needs to think clearly, which is pretty much all of us. Great preparation for law school or anything else, really. See later on in the video that you might see, there's a student who talks about this great English class that he took with a really long title that he could never remember. Here's another interesting course. Oh, I missed it. To Understand the World, Mississippi Writers. This is really a classic example of a Brown course where you approach an area of study sort of sideways. And it's inspired by a claim by William Faulkner that understanding the world requires understanding Mississippi first. And it's classic because by focusing on a microcosm, in this case Mississippi, you attain the real goal, which is to acquire an understanding of the macrocosm, that is the world. And you do it in this way by learning to read really carefully and to become a critical thinker and a more perceptive person. And if you're still wanting to be pre-med, here's the art of medicine. Learning how to write can make you a better doctor. This class is actually not about penmanship, even though most MDs could use such a course. It's geared rather to students interested in medicine who want to learn how to think like a doctor to acquire the skills needed, like the powers of observation, the ability to describe things carefully, necessary to be a good physician. And they'll learn all this by reading literature written by doctors and about the practice of medicine, and by reading good writing and learning to write as well. And it's another example of how by focusing on one thing you end up learning another. So when you're looking for courses in the catalog, do make sure you look for those courses in unexpected places. Going sideways sometimes is a more direct route than going straight ahead. And one thing we didn't do, but which you really should do, is to slow down. Click on the Learn More buttons so you can read the full descriptions and don't just scan the titles or first couple of lines. The full descriptions naturally will give you a lot more information about what the class is about, how it approaches its subject matter, and it'll often also list the prerequisites. This is pretty important. These are the things that you need to know before you take the class, so that when you walk in the door and sit down, you're not lost the moment the instructor starts talking. So it's something to look at pretty carefully. So whether you're still figuring out what to study or absolutely sure you know what you want to study and aren't interested in anything else, you should still really explore the catalog. Look at areas that you don't know anything about and see what you find there. And think about what really interests you and not just about what you think you ought to study. Following either path will prepare you for college level study and will help you discover whether you will thrive in studying more in that area or need to choose a different direction. But one will certainly be far more enjoyable, fulfilling, and rewarding than the other. And since most of what you're going to be doing here is studying, this is really what you want to focus on pretty intently as you go forward. But that said, when you're not studying and not in class, what else is going to happen?
So what's it like on campus? You'll be in class for 3 hours each day, and your class may require an additional 3 hours of out-of-class study. Some super organized students who are happy spending up to 12 hours a day on coursework do take 2 courses, but most students are interested in taking advantage of the co-curricular and extracurricular activities that we offer, and thus often take 1 course. Every Sunday night, we have an activities fair which duplicates what happens every fall on most college campuses, where the resident advisors or RAs have tables set up for you to sign up for ultimate frisbee or a running club. We have a salsa club, arts, crafts, chess, and groups focus on other particular interests. Throughout the day, you'll also be able to attend college success workshops on issues ranging from how to choose a college, to writing the college essay, to time management, to living with roommates, navigating college services, and so on. We schedule events throughout the day from 9 a.m. to the end of your day at 11 p.m. for curfew. There's so much to do that you're not likely to be able to take advantage of everything, no matter how organized you are. None of these activities are mandatory or require that you choose where and how much you will engage. You'll also want to spend some time getting to know the students around you. While you're in class, you'll learn a lot from other students in your class as well as your instructor. And out of class, you'll want to spend more time with them, students whom you'll meet in your residence hall or through one of the groups or clubs you join. We work really hard to build a vibrant community and to provide many opportunities for you to engage with other students in activities that are both fun and interesting. We leave it up to you to jump in and take full advantage of all you can and all you like.
So we ran through things pretty fast. We zoomed through and want to take some time to answer your questions as well. But one that you might have a question about is why choose to spend part of your summer at Brown? Maybe you're wondering if it will help you get into Brown University. The answer to that question is probably not. But it will help you prepare for whatever college you go to. It'll clarify what you want to study, will give you a sense of what rigorous college-level academics is all about, will give you an experience of independent living on a college campus, and help you find in yourself the self-discipline and self-motivation that will be required of you. And you will likely meet a bunch of really awesome people. At summer's end, so many students say they've made friends for life, and since I keep hearing from students who were here long ago that they're still in touch with the people they met when they were at summer at Brown, I have no reason to think it's not true. And there are also students who do go on to Brown, but they also go on to lots of other places. And one of the best things about studying at a place like Brown is that it really does provide you preparation and enables you to be ready to go pretty much anywhere. All right, so we're going to stop our chattering now and focus on some of your questions. So I think in the chat you may see a link to a video that I'm going to see if I can point it out to you a little better. That's what it looks like. Oop. And there's the URL. And I can paste it right there. Oop. There we go. Thank you, Margaret. All right. So we will now turn to your questions. All right, so I took a quick look at a bunch of questions and can respond to a bunch of them here. There we go. So let's see, one person asked who teaches in the program. And the instructors are a combination of Brown faculty, graduate students from across the university who've had teaching experience, either as TAs or instructors of undergraduate students, and a couple of visiting instructors. Sometimes we are not able to find folks at Brown to teach areas that we think are important, and so we'll bring in people from the outside, and often they're Brown alums themselves. Another question was the class size. That varies by department and interest. We try to keep classes to be pretty small. 24 is about as big as we like to get, but the average class size is actually somewhere between 16 and 18. Writing classes, for example, are usually no larger than 12. Some lab courses are capped at 18. Because the classes are 3 hours long, they meet every day of the week for 3 hours. It's very student-centered. You're not going to go into a room and sit there and just listen to somebody talk for 3 hours. You're going to be expected to engage and to talk and to work with other students in class. We do have financial aid available for students. If you go to that main page and scroll down on the left, you'll see a link to the Dean's Scholarship. We have a pretty robust program and a fair amount of money set aside to help folks get into the program. Another student asked about the sort of average age. I think most students are somewhere between 10th and 11th grade, around 15, 16, a few 17-year-olds. But what we find is that the mix of students in classes is often a good part of what makes the experience really vibrant, because students teach themselves and teach each other as much as the instructor does. When you're working together as a group, students along with the instructor, and sharing with each other, the amount of information and knowledge and understanding that students have to share with each other is pretty impressive. How long students are here really varies. Some are here just for a week. There are some students who string together a series of 1 week, 2 week, and 3 week courses. We've had students come here who've spent pretty much the entire summer here, the full 8 weeks. Just about all our courses are up and ready to enroll in. We're still finalizing a few. The archaeology course that I mentioned, the instructor ended up getting an incredible job that requires that he leave Brown sooner than he thought he would. And so he's got a colleague who's going to come in and teach that course instead. And so there's shuffling around like that. It still does happen. We do, because we don't want classes to be too large, we do have caps on them, and in some cases we do have wait lists. We do provide academic advising to any student who needs some help figuring out what classes to take. And once students are here, we provide academic advising. Joy and I sit up in the Student Center the first couple of days of every part of term, and students who go to a class and realize that they've made a huge mistake don't have to stay there. They can come and talk to us, and we can figure out a better option for them. Because our main interest is in your education, we want to make sure that there are no obstacles to you doing that. All right, I think I'm going to pause again and see what other new questions have come in. All right, so we've got a bunch of questions about how to navigate the website. So I'm going to take you on just a quick tour so you can see where all the information is. So off to the side here, this is the basic home page. Here's a link to the fees, to the course catalog that we were running around in. There's a link to what life is like outside the classroom. A very good page for parents and guardians that will give them a sense of what being in the program is like. A bunch of videos to watch. A page for international students that talks about language requirements and visas and that kind of stuff. This page will explain everything there is to know about our financial aid and scholarships, and then a policies page, which is basically the fine print, I guess you'd say. It would be really good for you to look at all of those pages because a lot of the information that, a lot of the questions that you asked have all their answers there. One of the things that the website cannot tell you is whether the food is any good and what the dorms are like, which was a regularly asked question. And both of those are really matters of taste. One thing I will say is that Brown expends its financial energies into learning. And you can take from that what you will as far as what that implies about the quality of food and the quality of the residence halls. Brown undergraduates seem to be doing quite fine. We do have a large residential life staff in the summer. That their responsibilities are to make sure that students are safe, that they're where they need to be to respond to any questions they have. The RAs put together lots of the activities that happen throughout the day and throughout the evening and on weekends. The RAs are undergraduates at Brown or at other colleges, and they're supervised by a team of graduate students who are graduate students in residential life and student affairs and are here to work on the program as part of their education and graduate degree. And they in turn are supervised by full-time residential life staff here at Brown. And one of our major focuses is to make sure that the life outside the classroom is just as robust and filled with positive learning experiences as inside the class. One student wants to know about admissions. So students often and parents often ask how selective the program is. And I can give you statistics, but they won't really tell you very much. What the real key is that we admit students who, in our judgment, have the academic preparation and background to be successful in the course that they want to take. So for example, if you want to come and study quantum physics and you know enough to know that that's what you want to study, then you probably can do it. For the most part, the students who come to the program are students who are serious about their learning and focused in what they want to do and have good study habits and self-discipline and so on. And because so much of your time is spent either in class or doing homework, as I think we said, you're going to be spending 3 hours a day in classes. It could be another 3 hours of homework outside of class. So you have to be pretty serious about studying. And pretty much anybody who wants to do that probably can. We have an FAQ that we're going to put together based on all the questions that you're asking that we're going to put together and send out to you. We also send the recording of the webinar, Margaret saying yes, in case you want to hear Joy and I talking again because you missed some of the most important and scintillating moments of our presentation. You'll be able to replay that and listen to it to your heart's content. We also will grab your email addresses, and we have some program services folks who will try to respond to as many of your questions as we can that are not included in the FAQs. And I think that's about it for us. We have a lot of snow on the ground outside. We're going to gear up to head out into the frigid northeast winter, thinking really warm thoughts of summer. Because one thing I can tell you is that the Brown campus in the summer is really spectacular. It is a beautiful place. And we're looking forward to seeing all of you here this summer. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.